Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship live on the iRacing Esports Network presented by Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick and back alongside me in the comms box is Daniel Leet with Scott Newton on the cameras. And we are here for round 11 of this season 11. It's the penultimate round of the championship, and what a host for the penultimate round. We've seen some pretty classic races in all forms of motorsport rounds here, Daniel. This is a place where it can go right, but it can go very wrong. It's going to be a treacherous round for our championship rivals tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Sam, and to all the viewers tuning in. Great to be back again. As you say, second to last round tonight. And Montreal, what a fantastic circuit to come to. Provides a huge amount of challenge for these drivers. Not only are the walls close, the speeds are high, and we're 2 rounds out here from crowning a new Season 11 champion, and there's still a lot of fight left in this one. The championship's coming down quite nicely, and it's going to be a classic race tonight.
Absolutely. By the way, in the championship, we have got Nathan Huppertz currently leading the way, but that's on drop scores. It's ever so close. Honestly, it's insanely close at the minute in the championship. But what you need to watch out for is Huppertz, Theben, Thomas, and Edwards. They're probably the favourites for the championship. Clean Boost Sync as well might have a chance. That's for the overall championship. We do have 4 different championships. We might expand on that a little bit later on. As we've already done qualifying, we did pre-qualifying, and the drivers are now lining up on the dummy grid. So we'll go through your grid then for the penultimate time this season. And it's Craig Edwards on pole position. Joshua Thomas lines up alongside him on the front row of the grid. So good start for Edwards right there. And Joshua Thomas, not Trent Thomas. Trent Thomas, the one going for the championship. Timothy Theben lines up in third. Then it's Jason Dixon. Simon Nicholson, top of the amateur judge. Then it's Darren Lobb, Kane Ryder, Nathan Huppertz, Trent Thomas, Will Alton, Julian Clean Busink, Adam Gardner starting in 12th position, and then it is Matt Morris, Robert Hooper, Ross Deal, Adrian Vlock, Warren Pickering, Tom Huggan, Aaron Dodd, Martin Crisp, Scott Gamble, Steve Jansen, Harrison Sellers, Jesse Jacquard in 24th. There's Aaron Specchier, Jordan Cullis, Mitchell Bales, Chris Keeping. Top of the amateur drivers, by the way. Chris Keeping, only amateur driver in the entire field, I believe. Adrian Lichty, Martin Silvassi, Nick Sanfilippo, Born Rider, Jesse Butler, and the rest of you will go through as well, because the drivers are already driving alongside the old rowing lake here in Montreal. It is a fantastic setting for this absolutely pivotal round of the championship. So tricky starts as well. Edwards from the pole position. Can Thomas keep up with him? We're about to get underway for 45 minutes of racing, and it's green flag at Circuit Jules Villeneuve. It's a decent start for Edwards. I think he'll be able to hold the lead going into the first couple of corners, and in fact off the circuit goes, it's an awful mistake from Thomas, and he's going to drop way down the aisle. Oh, and a big flip as well into the wall, and that could be a track blockage, and I think we are going to need to see a safety car here, because there's a huge amount of cars involved. And that was just one incident, seemingly, and there's still drivers going around. I think that may have been Adrian Vlock in his Ford being spun around, and we have got the safety car, and that was the only thing we could have done. And all that was, it was a difficult angle for me to see there, Daniel. But from what I could see, all that was one of the drivers in second place, Trent Thomas, skipping the circuit, Joshua Thomas, sorry, skipping the circuit, coming back on a bit unsafely and flipping up a car, and then it was all chaos after that.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an awkward start here, and it's something that we've seen quite a few times previously in other championships here at Montreal, where we do see a lot of drivers trip over themselves, unfortunately, in that first hairpin complex there. It is something very easy to do, but a little bit chaotic there from everyone else, and for the guys following behind, really nowhere else they could have gone. The walls narrow down, you kind of become a little bit of a pinball as you hit those there. So it's smart call from the race control, first safety car of the event. And this will give everyone a good chance to reset, come back into it. We'll see if we can jump to a replay as everyone forms up behind the grid. It looks like we've got Craig Edwards also coming down the lane as well. So something new for everyone here this season. We'll see a lot of these drivers come in now to get those pit stops out of the way. But here is the replay of the start. And we see the safety car pulling away. It was a good jump from everyone initially. They all got through that wall of champions final section very, very nicely there. It was a great jump from Edwards to get out in front. And as they went down here into turn number 1, it was really interesting to see what happened there. That you see the Fishy Motorsports car cops a little bit of the curb, runs very wide, self-spins on the inside there. As you see Adrian Block in that Fordzilla car, not really much to go. But as we get into it all happened. Esports car over on its roof, and quite a few other drivers involved in that.
Yeah, and here's an odd mistake, almost an overcorrection, I think, from Thomas. And by the way, everyone has come into the pits. We saw this. I've seen this many times this season, and it's always the best decision to come in on the first lap if there is a. I think that is what we're currently witnessing. So Joshua Thomas, in fact, stayed out. So he was the one who kind of started all of that mess, and he's decided to stay out and go into the lead of the race. Jesse Jacquard, who I believe is a new driver to the States, staying out as well. I think that was a little bit misinformed, I must say, that one. Everyone else I'm seeing has come into the pits. By the way, the reason why it's smart to come into the pits is that these drivers, it's a 45-minute race, the guys have to pit at least once in this race. And so if you pit under the safety car, then of course you come out of the pits and then you can form back to the back of the line. There's, of all the circuits to stay out there in this situation, this is a pretty good one though, Daniel, because this is possibly the shortest pit lane we visit all season long. You gain a bit of time coming into the pits, you gain a lot of time coming out of the pit. So if it's going to work anyway, it's going to work here, but I still don't think it's a viable strategy for any of these guys.
No, I mean, it is a good opportunity to try something a little bit different. We are only a couple of rounds out here from being the conclusion of season 11, but from the past where we've seen drivers stay out, it generally hasn't worked very well, especially in the 45-minute format like we got here tonight. So Thomas is going to definitely need a lot of luck his way to get through there. And I think we may have miscalled Thomas as the one who initially instigated it with all the contact there. He did have that spin, but it also looked like we saw one of the Fusion sim racing BMWs going off initially as well, which potentially caused that big one. But that's all done and dusted now. We'll see the safety car pulling away, and we're going to be set for a restart here momentarily.
Yeah, we sure are. So Joshua Thomas then. Hopefully this start goes a little bit better than his last one. Remember, he hasn't come into the pits. Everyone else behind him, except from amateur class leader Jesse Jacquard, those are the only two drivers who haven't come into the pits yet. As the pace car does come into the pits, it's Thomas's choice when to go. It's David Coulter, 97 all over again. I think it's 97, not quite sure. But here comes Thomas. He's still holding on. He might want to accelerate halfway through the final chicane, but you can see how eager everyone is behind. And if you can get a good launch hit, then a few places could be in your pocket. It's an extremely slow run to the line, and the tires are going to be very cold. We could see more issues going down into turn 1, and he still holds on. And a lot of drivers in the midfield, I think, accelerating, then having to get onto the brakes. However, it looks quite smooth so far at the moment, and Joshua Thomas pulls out to a 4.5 tenths of a second lead going into turn 1. Most of the drivers single file at the moment, as a bit of side-by-side actually with, I think that may be like Huppets or maybe Morris getting past Pickering. It was Morris and Pickering just battling for a moment, Ferrari versus BMW. But this time in single file, that restart, it seems to be much better.
Yeah, really good jump there from the guys out front. And Josh Thomas actually already starting to gain a little bit of a gap on this one here. We're seeing a drive-through for Huppets. So that might have been that Fusion sim racing car that we spoke of just before, getting involved in that first lap altercation, and that's definitely going to have issues for the championship here. A little further back, Matt Morris actually trying to get a move completed now on Nathan Huppets as well, and Morris actually running very, very wide there. He's going to have a slowdown as he rejoins the circuit. He's going to drop a huge amount of places now as a result of that.
A couple of penalties for Giants being given out, so Janssen as well getting a penalty. Oh, there's a bit of contact just ahead. Are we going to see a spin? No, seemingly not. By the way, just as you were speaking there, Dan, I think I saw a stunning move from Robert Hooper to get past Craig Edwards. Hooper, who started this race down in 14th place, he took a very short pit stop. Most drivers were stationary for about 12 seconds. Meanwhile, Hooper was only stationary for 3 seconds. Now, I'm a little bit confused how that is the case. You'd think that you'd need a bit more fuel, to be honest, to get to the end of the event. But well, maybe he didn't put a whole lot of fuel in. Maybe we'll have to stop later on. But at the moment, he's driving phenomenally well. Managed to overtake Edwards, and now we've got a little bit of a block. This is exactly what Thomas needs. You can tell that last time he pulled away by over a second, and he is starting to build up that gap.
Yeah, doing a really good job here. The gap out to 2.5 seconds at this point. Not a lot of time in it at the moment, but while everyone else is working their way through, definitely a good opportunity for him to start really extending the gap out. Robert Hooper going to run a little wide there. Actually, he's going to come under a huge amount of attack.
Edwards is going to lose a place here to Darren Lobb. Surely he got a much better run through that chicane. Through goes Lobb. Potentially the outside line can work into this corner. However, Lobb, the South African, moves up into 3rd place. But it's difficult to tell who is the proper race leader at the moment, because the way that Thomas is pulling away, this actually could perhaps still work for him, and Hooper may have to pit again later on as well. Jesse Jackar, by the way, he's still got to come to pit, has dropped down the order. That was just that previous chicane. But it's been a terrible start here for Craig Edwards, who seemed to have this race wrapped up, but a slightly longer pit, well, a longer pit stop compared to Hooper has really caused some big issues for him.
Yeah, definitely. And but yeah, the pace in the car at the moment for the BMW for Rob Hooper really, really good right now. He's going to be put under a huge amount of pressure now as Darren Lobb works his way through to come up. A little further back, Adrian Block in the Fordzilla Ford there, having a really good run so far, up 5 spots. Obviously, that issues earlier on has definitely helped him there. But the Ford looking very good. Currently, a couple of spots behind our first Ford in the hands of Jordan Cullis. A little further back though, Brett Hender just struggling a bit through the final chicane there, and he's now got himself under a lot of attack from both Vaughan Ryder and Simon Nicholson, both exchanging positions on the run into turn 1 there.
Can be one of the main overtaking spots. That's turn 1 with the a good exit from the chicane. It can be very possible into that first section of course. So yeah, Ryder up into 24th. By the way, all the colours on your side of the screen, as Lobb has got past Hooper. That's a big move. Darren Lobb, who I don't recall ever winning a race in this series, and anyone on the chat, or Daniel, or Scott, you are all free to correct me on this one, but I do not recall Lobb ever winning a race, but he is putting himself in a very good position at the moment. However, that's not a good positioning of the car, because he might lose his place again. Here comes Hooper. It's a better exit at least for Lobb, so he should just about survive that scare. But he don't do too many of them, and Hooper in fact is going to come back again. We saw Edwards lose out to Hooper earlier on. We know that he can overtake, and I think Hooper did overtake around the outside earlier on. This time he stayed behind as the 721 car. But that BMW looking very confident over the bumps. So it's a slowdown for Hooper, and he's going to drop 5 or 6 places.
Yeah, really tough spot there, and it's so easy to pick up a slowdown penalty as you run through that chicane there. See a lot of drivers try to straighten that up as much as possible. Just touching on the Darren Lobb situation about whether he's won a race here or not, he hasn't, but he's come extremely close to doing it. A couple of seasons ago, we had a 90-minute endurance race here. He was by far, hands down, the fastest driver on the day. Unfortunately, had a couple of little issues towards the back end of the race, which ultimately cost him the win. But certainly, of any of the drivers here, very, very capable. And looking at the way he's positioning the car now and the speed that he's starting to come through with, definitely look for him to be slowly closing down at Josh Thomas in the Fisher Motorsports BMW there.
We've got Clean Boosink at the head of this very long train. Clean Boosink, I'll tell you, this is Pickering at the head of the train in 5th place. They need to, if they don't fight, then they've got a decent chance potentially of catching up to the big pack ahead, seeing that Lobb is at the head of them. We don't expect Lobb to be the absolute fast, but as you say, he is a very, very quick driver, undoubtedly. And so all these guys are right in the mix. There should just be a lights to flag race, no pit stops. You're going to have to get them done out on circuit most likely. No, it's still really up in the air who is going to win this race at the moment. So Pickering at the head of this, and it's Clean Boosink. Block just at the back. Block having a good race. Jordan Cullis, by the way. Hooper's come into the pit, so he clearly didn't put enough fuel in the car, Hooper. I don't know what he was playing at when he pitted earlier on. Maybe he took like a fast repair, didn't take any fuel. But Tom Hooper, he was running in 2nd place earlier on, going into the pits, and think he'll drop safely outside the top 30.
Yeah, that'll be a little disappointing for him. We haven't seen him in the top split for AMF throughout the course of the season, so maybe being a little bit new to the series, not quite up with the first lap pit stops that did come through. But look for him to come through later on. The pace very, very good in that car presently, and we'll see him work through. Harrison Sellers doing a nice job up now into the 10th position. He's got Adrian Block in that Fordzilla car right behind him, so those two working very nicely. Kane Ryder working his way through, and the Max Boost car actually having an updated livery for this event as well. A little bit of a change from the purple that we saw last time out. A little bit of blue on that car, looking very, very nice.
All the teams doing an awesome job with these liveries as normal. Very much looking forward to in a few weeks' time, seeing what they do for season 12, and also the Aussie Mixed and Fixed special event that will be occurring. Not sure if that'll be on the esports network, but I think it'll be on Apex Racing TV at least. And certainly keep your eyes out on that one. That'll be Lotus 79s, I believe. And I'm sure the teams will have some gorgeous liveries for that race. So certainly we'll keep you with more information. We should have some more information for the next round of the championship when it comes to that event. So Darren Lobb then, 7.1 seconds off the lead. He just lost 1 second. And I was absolutely ruling out any chance of this no stopping under the pace car as working. I didn't think it was possible, Daniel. But Joshua Thomas at the moment, he has probably got another at least 10 laps, hasn't he? Probably even 15 laps until he will have to come into the pits, I imagine. That's just over 20 minutes, so that's realistic. So if he's got 15 laps a minute, if he can pull away by a second a lap, the gap could be over 20 seconds by the time he comes into the pits. And if that is the case, he could still win this race. But he needs to hope that Lobb keeps behind Edwards and the others for a bit longer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's going to at least need somewhere in the vicinity of about 40 seconds to come in and out in first place at this point. The first lap times, or pit stop times that we've seen so far, Darren Lobb is an example of 40.73 for his stop on the first lap there. So we're going to need to see the gap extend as much as possible. That being said, though, Thomas doing a great job. Last time by, quickest man on circuit, did a 1 minute 32.1, and he got purple sectors all the way across the board. So he's found something in the car. Obviously, for those not familiar with it, we do run a fixed setup across all these cars, but he's found something to his liking here, and as you can see, already extending a very healthy lead over second and third position right now.
Clean V-Sync is now ahead of Warren Pickering. So he's now at the head of this trend. Expect Clean V-Sync to probably start pulling away. I don't think anyone's really holding one another up. I mean, we always see these drivers very even to one another week in, week out. So I don't think anyone's necessarily any time. They're just so evenly matched that they're still staying very much in the same area as one another. However, actually, Harrison Sellers really close in on these guys. So this train almost growing at the moment. Tom Huggan now obviously the back there. By the way, Jordan Pallett's up 18 places into 8th place. One of the highest gainers out there. Amateur drives as well is Cullis. Maybe that Ford is looking pretty good at the moment, with the few of them that there are out on circuit, and he's looking to gain a few more places across top of the amateur drives. The amateurs in the orange on your screen, and then the pros, the green, the purple are the elites, and there should be one red driver as well, one rookie driver. However, outside the top 30 places at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, and we're keeping an eye on Nathan Haplitz, who we saw serve that penalty earlier on for the contact on lap 1, working his way back up through the field. So don't forget, current points leader in the championship, this is not what he's going to want to see as he has to come back up through the field. He's got Simon Nicholson of the XRC Racing team just ahead of him, and then Paul Wood, both those two drivers, very tough to get around, but going to need to really utilise the draft, especially down this back straight here, and look to push that car up through the final chicane if he can.
Here he goes. It's on the inside going into the chicane, but he doesn't quite have the O2. It can be a tricky circuit to overtake this. Because Huppert's won last time out at Red Atlantic. It was quite a comfortable win in the end, even though turbo got spin a little further down. That was that Wilson, I think, just having a big side. I think it was. it's of course Harper's one last time out for Atlanta turned out to be relatively comfortable with a few of the strategies that the other drivers went for. Harper's had the perfect strategy on that day. So got a good heap of points, which put him into the championship lead. However, this is putting it all in jeopardy at the moment. Is Timothy Fieben even out on circuit? I don't think I've seen him all day.
Well, he's still currently out on circuit, down in 20th position at the moment. A long way down the order there as we focus in on the Mark 1 BMW. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him. He's got Jesse Butler, teammate ahead, Mitch Bales, Aiden Leckie, Trent Thomas, all to get through to try and close back up towards the front. So not going to be an easy run for him here, but we've seen in the past he's very, very strong in the longer races and definitely see him come through. Change of position there as well. Will Orton on Ross Deal down into turn number 10, which is probably the preferred passing opportunity into the hairpin here, but Deal coming back with an opportunity down into turn 13, not quite close enough, however, this time in the Ferrari.
So by the way, in the championship, we've got Huppert's outside the top 20, Fieben 20th, Thomas 15th, Trent Thomas that is, Craig Edwards is doing very well up in 3rd place, and then Clean Boosink is in 5th place. So this race really could flip the championship on its head. This could be the exact thing that Edwards needs, and Edwards, if he can pass Lobby, would be the favourite for this race win as well, with Joshua Thomas's pit stop yet to come. So this could be an absolute overhaul of points and really open up the championship. Going into Belle Isles as well next week, which once again will be a very treacherous round for these drivers to navigate. It's another kind of quartet of drivers. Lichty at the head of this. And it's Bales, Butler and Fieben right onto the back of these drivers. Fieben, by the way, started in 3rd place, but got caught up in that first lap incident. So we know that he is extremely quick. And I wonder if he'll be able to go for a bit of a surprise move, perhaps going into this next hairpin on Butler. Well, Butler makes a relatively easy run there, outbreaks himself completely, and through goes Fieben. Gains up into 19th place. Every position right now for Timothy Fieben is an extra few points for his championship.
Well, definitely, yeah. And I mean, we look at the championship over the top 5 places. We've just got a touch on 450 points separating our top 5. So when you consider you're roughly looking around 500 points for a race win here, plenty of opportunity for all these drivers, especially with the 2 rounds left to go, to maybe sneak a surprise championship victory at the end of it, which is what we want to see. I mean, it's great to have the volumes of drivers up amongst it to finish out the season. Tom Huggan doing a really solid job in the XRG's Ford, and he's got Adrian Vlock in that Fordzilla Ford GT just ahead of him as well. Gap only about 0.6 of a second at the moment. Both cars looking quite nice as they work their way through turn 6 and 7. Traction very, very good in these cars at the moment as well. And a little surprised we haven't seen the Ford up as high as we have in a few earlier races, especially a couple of seasons ago. They were very, very competitive cars. BMW, the Ferrari is just that touch better, but the other big surprise, we still got a Porsche up inside the top 10, and would love to see a few more of those up there also.
I touched on it last week when we were at Atlanta. Oh dear, that's a big off for is that Gardner and
Jordan Collis involved in that as well.
Yeah, Collis and Gardner then have gone into one another. And that was down at the hairpin. We see a lot of this quite often around this circuit where drivers just outbreak themselves seemingly. We've now got side by side between the teammates. But Hagen staying behind Cullis right there. He was making good progress there, was Cullis, but not anymore. Here we are then. And Cullis is ahead, so I assume he's going to be wiped out here. Oh, it's just a little bit too late, and you can see how desperately he was trying to get onto the brakes, and you'd be surprised if that's going to be a penalty.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there as we ride on board with Sellers. This will be a good view at the back of the Porsche there. You can just see him just running a little bit low, long in brakes, just collects the back of Jordan Collis' car, both going around. So a little unfortunate there. It's a little bit of an off mistake from Adam Gardner, who normally very, very clear in the way he races. He'll definitely be annoyed at himself for that, and just see under brakes there. Just carried a couple of Ks too much speed, caught the back of the Ford, and they both go around. He does effectively redress, though, in allowing Collis to get through, so potentially that will be looked on a little more favourably with the race control tonight, and we may not see a penalty there, in effect self-penalising, but keep an eye out for that. Further up the front, though, the battle's still going on over second position. Darren Lobb, Craig Edwards still involved in it, half a second at this point, and those two are very much inseparable at the moment.
So Josh Button's now with an 8.5 second lead. The gap hasn't been going up much, at least to these two. Still Kane Ryder losing a bit of time in fourth place. Thomas should lose about probably about 30 seconds when it comes to his pits, or maybe even less than that. To be fair, probably about 25 seconds. So if he pitted right now, he'd probably come out around Huppert's, to be honest, which is something that we want to see. He could potentially come out as high as about 17th place. Matt Morris 18 seconds behind. I doubt he'll be ahead of him. He's got another 10 minutes, as Thomas, until he will need to come into the pits, I believe. So it will almost certainly mean that Dan Lobb will take the lead off this race. As Adrian Block, he was having a really good run, was Block, a very regular driver in this series. I was running especially high up in the top 10. It was going to be one of his best starts of the season. It's just dropped down to 16th. Fortunately for him, he has got back underway, which is a relief. But Lobb and Edwards really evenly matched at the moment. But yeah, Lobb effectively race leader. Here is Ross Deal from the great nation of Wales, which is nice to see. We don't usually see that, to be honest. But that is a good thing. Huggan, I think, has just slowed down on the inside there, picking up a slowdown. It was Tom Huggan. So from the top 10, a lot lower than that. Deal. Oh, deal me. And that was very disastrous, and still got contact as well. Deal comes racing back onto the circuit with a very unusual line. And might even gain a few places. That's absolutely bizarre what has just occurred down at that corner. And Deal will actually move back up into 11th position, I believe, with a stunning overspeed down the back straight. But now at the head of this train is Thomas. It's Trent Thomas. Trent Thomas has gained 5 places since we last tuned in on him. So he must have just passed all of these drivers, I think, on the last lap.
Yeah, he's having a really solid run. But I was going to say, while we were watching that little bobble there from Deal, we almost saw the rotation of Trent Thomas's car, both himself and Gardner getting into each other on the exit of 10, and that could have been very dangerous for both of those drivers there. We did see penalty come up just a couple of minutes ago for Adam Gardner as well. His incident will be investigated post-race, similar to that of Jordan Cullis as well. So race control on top of everything at the moment. But for Trent Thomas, doing a fantastic job in the Trick Esports car, 10th at the moment, and really good pace currently. He was a fraction quicker than Harris Sellers ahead, so look for that gap to continue to close down for 9th position. But he's found something as well in the BMW at the moment. It's working very nicely for him.
Well, he's just made a small mistake there, and he's put the pressure back on himself. But the deal or no deal here, I had to say that. But do you have deal or no deal in Australia? Sorry for going off topic. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say deal or no deal?
Sadly, I do, and I can't say that I've ever watched an episode of it, but I do unfortunately know the reference.
Fantastic show. I think it ended a few years ago, so bit of a shame. Carlos coming in for his drive through, and also, who else was coming into that? That was Ross Deal coming into the pits. So I don't know if he's going to have a chat with the banker or something, because he seems to have lost all his money there. We'll have to pull something out of the box. I could go all day with this. Anyway, so Deal and Cullis coming into the pits. Cullis for that drive through, and Deal for something as well. They will drop a long way down. Here's Robert Hooper. He's already come into the pits twice in this race. He's trying to get past Silvati. He's running a little bit lower than we have come to get used to. But Hooper does get past up into 24. The next up for him actually will be Deal, who just came into the pits.
Yeah, this is a good run from Hooper. Obviously, we did say that the second stop there did hurt him quite a long way, and he fell well down the order. But The consistency in the car, very, very good. About half a second quicker than what we've seen from the guys in front last time, by almost a second quicker than Silvassi, who is ultimately just managed to get that pass completed against as well. So Robert Hooper, relatively new in the series from what we've seen, but very, very quick in the GTEs at the moment. Great to see it, really. Another good, strong driver in the field. Paul Wood for Aussie iRacers, having a very quiet, clean run at the moment. Down in the 18th position, so nice run for him there. He's got Jordan Collis, who we saw going to have that penalty post-race closing in. Blake Delaney and Steve Jansen as well, slowly working their way up to the back of his BMW as well.
Yeah, Delaney will seems to have a spin then for the Ford, and fortunately doesn't hit anyone else as he launches himself over that sausage curve. Fortunately, he doesn't pick up too much damage, and that is another mistake then from was that Cullis that we it was Cullis who was the one who spun round, and what could have been for Jordan Cullis, because he was running so high. Now Delaney is slow as well, must have picked up a slowdown, or maybe that's a redress to deal. Moves back up into 21st. There's constant action going on all around this Montreal circuit. Such an easy track to make mistakes around, and we are certainly seeing that evident today. Now moving up into the top 10 then is Adam Gardner. Good job from Gardner. He's got Matt Morris on his tail. Both these guys up 2 places. Have been in the wars. That's a nice cutback for the Ferrari driver, but it hasn't quite got him the overspeed, but will be deep in the slipstream now down the back straight.
Yeah, the Ferrari very, very slippery here, which is going to be great to see. He should be able to set himself up, but knowing Gardner, he's run that going to run the Porsche very, very defensive down the inside line here, make it extremely tough for Morris to get through. Not going to get that run, but Morris still has a couple of opportunities.
Off into the wall.
As we say, that collects that inside curb, and that Ferrari hard up into the wall, loses about 6 positions there, and will have some damage as a result of that.
Looked like a big hit into the wall initially, and then seemed to be able to recover quite quick. Hasn't blamed the engine, obviously, but still going to really compromise the straight line speed to the end of the race. Here it was, and this is the danger. You're so obsessed with getting the right cutback, and you can barely see the corner in front of you when you've got a massive car in front of you, completely blocking your eyesight. And he didn't take an awful line there by any means, but just unsettling the car over the curbs, and round he went. So another victim of that wall of champions. I don't know if that's perhaps going to be a good sign for future seasons or not. Clean Boosink is going to move past Kane Ryder there. Clean Boosink, who entered this race in 5th place in the championship, started behind many of his championship rivals. But it looks as though he's going to heavily outscore them. And here comes Thomas. Joshua Thomas is coming into the pits now. He got the gap of about 25 seconds back to about Matt Morris. I think he should come out in about 17th place here, should Joshua Thomas. He's still running down the pit lane, hasn't yet become stationary in his pit stall. But this is, big for Thomas, who's done a very sterling job at trying to open up that gap as far as possible.
Yeah, definitely. He finds himself down towards the end of the pit lane as well, which is going to help him a little bit as well. He takes that big hit early on, the car's down, and he is away. Currently in the 8th position, and you can see he's on the exit there. May keep it ahead of Trent Thomas as well. The 2 Thomases, no relation that we found out. So actually doesn't drop down as far as we first expected. Finds himself still in 8th, which is a solid run there. And we've seen what consistency that car's got already tonight, and he'll be working hard to find a couple of positions back up towards the pointy end. Out front now, though, Darren Lobb, Craig Edwards. I mean, this battle's been going on since lap 1. Very little separating both of these two. Craig Edwards just a fraction quicker last time by in the Fusion Sim Racing Ferrari. Darren Lobb, though, doing a great job to keep the DPR Ferrari out the front of this field at the moment, though.
So I thought to be fair, he lost about 25 seconds in the pit stall, which was roughly what we thought. Must have just done the maths wrong, to be honest. So that was why Joshua Thomas came back out in 8th place, which is a sterling effort, and could still gain a couple more places. I'm just wondering, Daniel, do you think Edwards' mentality here will be slightly different now that he's going for the championship? The few points that he'll gain by overtaking Lob, they're not that much. I mean, they could decide the championship, but considering that he's going to gain probably 100 points, an extra 10 points here, it's not going to make or break his season, probably. Do you think he's going to be quite cautious when it comes to this overtake?
I think he's going to just sit back, apply as much pressure as possible. I mean, he doesn't need to worry about Lob as far as a championship standpoint is concerned. Lob currently down in 19th on correction after we take into consideration the drop rounds that the championship does cater for. So, it's not a make or break pass that he needs to ultimately do, but Craig Edwards is a master of just consistently nibbling at the back of these cars. He'll apply as much pressure as possible, and ultimately, whether or not Lob succumbs to that pressure yet to be seen. But with just under 13 minutes still left on the clock, there's every opportunity for that pressure just to become a little bit too much here.
Here was a move from Joshua Thomas to get past Harrison Sellers. Nice move from the Fishy Motorsports driver. Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Perez-esque right there. I don't think it'll yield him a race win, but still a very good effort. Damage for Morris after that spin that we saw earlier on, I think, at the final chicane. And he is really struggling, so he's now got Wood and Deal, Janssen and Hooper. Delaney and Cullis will undoubtedly get involved in this as well if they're held up for too long. And the straight line speed for Morris is going to be absolutely firm. Actually, on that last lap, Morris was faster than these guys. I think Morris actually has overtaken these guys recently. So bonnets or no bonnets, he is still very quick, but I think he's going to be losing some time down the straight. Keep an eye on that relative screen to see if it does come down. It is coming down to about 0.2 of a second now.
Yeah, it's he's doing a fantastic job of ultimately bringing that car home by the scruff of the neck, and it's something we've seen from Matt Morris over the course of the championship. May not always get the best qualifying, or admittedly had a great night tonight as far as qualifying is concerned. Did have that one little issue only a few laps ago, but he wrings the neck out of these cars and continues to bring them up even after those few little hits. So didn't lose a huge amount of time, actually starting to now extend the gap through the chicane there in the first portion of the lap, back out to 0.6 of a second over Paul Wood, and starting to also close down a little bit of time on Vaughan Ryder, who's just ahead of him as well. So last time by between those two, just under a 0.8 of a second difference. Out front, however, though, Craig Edwards looking to go down the inside here. I don't think he's quite got the legs on Lob this time by, but he's certainly showing his intent that he's looking to get that Ferrari up into first place.
Must be such a massive deal for Dan Lob to finally get a race win. No disrespect to Dan, but I mean, as you said earlier, he has come close on occasion, but he's not necessarily someone who constantly finishes on the podium. I mean, he's done so many races that you would have thought that, a driver would get a win by now. But I think it's just this circuit where he's really comfortable around. This is a specialist circuit. Remember, there's Umashima a few seasons ago in the World Championship. Came ever so close to winning a race, and he's a driver who usually struggles to finish in the top 10 back then. But this is an exceptional drive at the moment from Dan Lob. He is almost there. At the moment, Edwards doesn't seem to be willing to play too many risks. Orton, by the way, is running up in 6th place. We haven't spoken too much about Will Orton. A driver who I haven't seen before. Look at that, he's a British driver. We've got a lot more international drivers than we did at the start of the season. At the start of the season, it was all Australians, but we've got Canadians and English people, or British people, Welsh people. So it's good to see this series kind of diversify. And Will Orton on his debut, I believe, driving exceptionally well. He's just ahead of Joshua Thomas. So he's breaking to the hairpin. It's deep though for Orton, and Joshua Thomas easily moves past.
Yeah, great run down the inside there from Thomas. Probably the spot that we normally see a lot of those moves. Ultimately, he did get a little bit of assistance from Orton, so just going a little further past the brake zone that he needed to get that car rotated back on. But this will be a good test for him, because we've seen how quick Thomas was in the early portion of the race. Will Orton be able to match this and potentially have a run back here with just over the 10 minutes to go. So he's got quite a few opportunities still left in this. Don't forget, about 14 turns per lap where he can have a crack at it. Plenty of opportunity still left for him if he can drag that car back up to the back of the BMW.
These drivers currently lapping in the low 33s by the way. At least the race leaders are. Some drivers a little bit further down are in the 32s even. Of course, all fixed sets up for these drivers. So the difference between the drivers is all in talent, really, and how well they can deal with this setup, which certainly will not satisfy anyone out on the order, but it's how you kind of drive around that. It's a fantastic challenge. 21 degrees track temperature at the moment, so extremely cool. Loads of grip for these drivers at their disposal. You can see it's 8:23. I would guess in the morning. I think if that was at the night, that would be very unusual. But it is very blue sky at the moment. But no, it's 8:23 in the morning. Of course, following the real life, sorry, not real life, the iRacing IMSA schedule. This. So if you wanted to do any practice around these circuits, then log on to iRacing. Go on to the IMSA official series, and you'll see all the official series next week. We have got Belle-Isle, so that'll be the next round of this championship, the season finale of this season 11 of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. And thank you for tuning in. Kane Ryder under increasing pressure from Warren Pickering. Remember, clean boosting managed to get past Ryder earlier on that last lap. Pickering only 2/100ths of a second faster. But I don't know if we can maybe get the gap over time graphic up. It has come down quite significantly.
Yeah, Pickering doing a really solid job here, just nibbling away at the time differential, and you can see it there evident in the gaps. He's really started to close that down over the last few laps. It stayed pretty stagnant once he's gotten up within that half a second range at the moment. Just keeping an eye through the sector times at the moment. Pickering probably just that fraction quicker through sector 1, a little bit through the mid-corner, the mid-circuit, that's just helping him maintain that gap. So, each of these drivers, while they are in the same car, same setup effectively, finding time in different portions of the track. And also to the viewers, if they want to tune in and see how the guys are running, keep an eye on the timing. There is a link to the live timing software presented or powered by SDK Gaming, and you can see all that and you can get a good idea of where these guys are on the circuit at the moment as well, alongside the broadcast, which is great to see. But here's a fantastic opportunity there for Warren Pickering, very much down the inside, throws it left, throws it right, gonna draw up alongside. Will he get the move done? Closes it right across the nose. That's a huge move down through that final chicane.
Stunning overtake there, and he gives his rival a slowdown penalty for as a bonus as well. Ryder squeezed to the inside of the corner and had to really mantle the curb. Stunning move there, and a well-deserved 4th place for the leading pro driver. Here it was. I want to see another replay of this. So Kane Ryder puts his car pretty much to the inside as he needed to. Just didn't have the confidence of as well. He's not especially early on the brakes. There goes the BMW, and then just takes too much curve, as you see there, and straight away gets the slowdown penalty over Ryder, who was running effectively in 3rd place, has been overtaken by both Clean Boosting and Pickering. Still, a 5th place would be decent results for him. Now, 0.2 of a second between Lob and Edwards, as Lob just goes a little bit offline. We've seen so many mistakes down at that hairpin all day long, with drivers under pressure, outbraking themselves and giving up the position, but none of that today from Lobby. I haven't seen a single apex miss by him so far.
No, he's been really, really methodical with how he's positioned the car on the circuit, getting every opportunity to close it through. See him just go that fraction defensive down into the final corner there, which we just saw a lap ago with that great pass there from Pickering getting through. But just positioning the Ferrari exactly where he needs to try and keep Edwards behind. Remember, Edwards still along or very close in for this championship. He doesn't need to take the win tonight to promote himself further up the order, but every driver wants a win, especially at Montreal. It's a really great technical, challenging circuit that all these guys are definitely going to take out. But these two have been virtually inseparable since the restart, which we saw on lap 2 after that earlier lap 1 turn 1 incident, and 0 between either of these drivers. You can see another great move there. But Edwards thinks about trying to come through turn 5, 6, not quite able to do it, does lose that fraction of time. And the gap back out to 0.3 of a second now.
This is gaining intensity now as this race. Edwards is getting closer and closer, and he's just starting to force Lob offline. They have got 8 seconds back to the next driver, which means that they can afford to have a little bit of fisticuffs and probably get away without losing any places. A top 2 for either of these drivers would be good, but I think Lob probably wants the win more, just because he knows that this is as good an opportunity as he's going to get at getting that race win. But yeah, like I said, 8 seconds clear of the drivers behind. A small mistake from Edwards a couple of chicanes ago. And it just means that the gap opened up, but straight away he's back onto him. And that seems like a lot of overspeed down that straight. You can see going from about 0.4 of a second to under 0.2 of a second just at the end of that straight. So he knows if he can get within 0.3 of a second coming out the hairpin, he's got a really good chance at overhauling. But we've got 2.5 minutes to go. And that means that we've got 2 laps to go. So 2 laps for Craig Edwards to take away a few more points. He'll be right back into the championship hunt. Him and Clean Boosting going to really be helping their chances at the moment. Good recovery from Trent Thomas in 9th place. He's 3rd place in the championship going into this round. Nathan Huppert's championship leader. He is up into 14th in this race. And Timothy Phoeben, who was 2nd place in the championship, he is in 11th. He couldn't write this any better, really, in terms of the 5 championship rivals getting very close to one another once again. But yeah, Phoeben up there in 11th place. And that is Huppert's at the back of this train. So Huppert's would really like to gain these couple of extra places. I don't think he'll get Phoeben, but he could still get Gardner and Butler right at the close.
Well, yeah, and that's the one big thing that Phoeben's got in his favour. Right behind him there, he's got some assistance with a couple of other teammates between himself and Nathan Huppert's as well. So
and Huppert's has round. Huppert's has dropped a wheel onto the grass, and Nathan Huppert's, he's almost been hit as well. And that was the championship really flashing before his eyes. He's just run a bit wide. I'm not sure if he clipped the wall at all, but certainly clipped the grass. And he was really lucky not to hit the wall, not to hit anyone else. But we are moving on to the last lap of the race. Dan Lobb has defended miraculously for the whole 40 minutes at the moment. And he's just got one more tour of this Montreal circuit in order to take his first race win. And that's a little bit of a gap opened up as well. But we know Edwards seems really quick down straight. It's running the same setup, remember, these drivers. But there's just the slipstream effect maybe is just really strong on this Ferrari as the gap once again drops down to 2.5 of a second, 0.2 of a second, but there's no way through at this corner. The corner that Edwards, of course, lost out earlier on to one of the other drivers, which really put his race in jeopardy. Lob managed to get past as well a couple of laps later. Ever since then, it looks as though Edwards has the pace advantage. He is even closer on this lap than he has been on previous laps. And the move into the hairpin is going to be very, very possible. We tick into the final 10 seconds of this penultimate round of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. But who is going to win out? Round the outside goes Edwards. Lob defending very well. And the gap is going to be coming down this next back straight. The gap was more than 0.3 of a second. 0.3 of a second was seemingly the bubble that he needed to get within. However, he is almost there, Edwards. He's gaining, not leaving any room on the inside whatsoever. Lob. Round the outside goes Edwards. There's no way through though. There's almost contact, but it's going to be Dan Lob round the final corner for the final time. Dan Lob, the South African, wins at Montreal. Round 11 of season 11 goes to him. And what a defensive drive it was. Thoroughly deserved victory. Clean Boosting scores good points to finish in 3rd. And still got back saying it's Sellers going up against Thomas. Thomas, who led for much of this race. And it will be Sellers seemingly to take that 8th place home. And finishing on the podium as well out of the pro drivers. Lixie will drop behind Huppert seemingly, so Huppert does recover back up to 15th place, but that was a costly late spin, does lose him one position seemingly, and also behind Ryder holding off Morris. But what a fantastic drive, Daniel, from Dan Lob. he just didn't flinch, did he? And I guess all that experience in this series really did prove necessary because he had the confidence in himself. He didn't make a mistake, and he scored a stunning victory.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he positioned that car expertly throughout the course of that race. Just did everything he needed to keep Edwards behind him. I was watching the sector times over the course of that run for him, and just seeing the differences in how those drivers ran. Lob that little bit faster through the first second. They were almost identical through the middle portion of the lap. Edwards, with the aid of that draft, just that fraction quicker at the back end. But when you look at putting the whole laps together, you couldn't ask anything more for Darren Lobb. He finally got the one that he wanted from a few seasons ago, and it was a great win for both himself and DPR Racing to take tonight here at Montreal.
Yeah, once again, the Aussie Mix and Picks GT Championship delivering. Hardly surprising that we've got another good round of championship. Red Atlanta was more controversial. I think today, despite that first lap incident, I think today was some properly good racing. So well done to everyone out there. We should be able to go through your final standings then for round 11 of the championship, the penultimate round of the season. And winning out for the first time in the championship, Darren Lobb, the 999 car, with a stunning result. Second place, Craig Edwards. Third place, Julian Clean Busink. Warren Pickering in fourth. There's Joshua Thomas, Will Orton, top of the amateur drives. Great result for Will Orton on his debut. Kane Ryder, Harrison Sellers, Trent Thomas, Tom Huggan, Timothy Feeman, great recovery from Feeman there. Adam Gardner, Jesse Butler, Simon Nicholson, Nathan Harpert, Adrian Lichty, Vaughan Ryder, Matt Morris, Paul Wood, Ross Steele, Steve Jansen, Jordan Cullis, Blake Delaney, Martin Silvassi, Robert Hooper, Luke Sutton, Scott Gamble, Martin Crisp, Brett Wilson, apologies. Aaron Dobb was in 30th. There was Brett Hender, Chris Keeping, Mitchell Bales, Jason Dixon was in 34th, and then the retirees. There were a few of them. Aaron Specchio, Jesse Jacquard, Nick Sanfilippo, Adrian Vlok, Mario Vartanian, and then also Kestamac Jova did a few laps to Kestamac in the pace car. So the interviews with the drivers, and straight away we have got an interview with the race winner today, Darren Lobb. Darren, congratulations. How does it feel to get that win under your belt? It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's a good feeling. It's been a long time coming. It was just a hell of a nice race. I didn't feel particularly prepared for it. We'd been working really hard to get into Scops earlier tonight. So I'd done a lot of work in the supercar before hopping in the Ferrari tonight. But it's a track that I've always enjoyed and always seemed to have gone well at. So it's really nice to notch up my first win in AMF at Montreal.
Yeah, it was, what stunned me about that race was that Edwards was on the back of you for the entire event, and yet you just didn't seem to flinch. We saw so many other drivers making mistakes, and yet I didn't see you miss an apex all day long. I mean, how much pressure was there?
There was a lot of pressure. I've actually been dogged by my mates and teammates because of the stupid mistakes that I've made in the first kind of 5 or 6 laps of races the last few weeks. I mean, I just about took the whole field out last weekend at Road Atlanta, but it was pretty good. I think Ferrari battles and locks up the fronts on heavy fuel. So I think Craig and I both battled after the pit stop, which allowed, I think it was Trent Thomas or Josh, to just run away from us at the front. And I kind of thought, well, we've got enough fuel to get to the end, so it's just a matter now of managing the gap with Craig. And then about halfway, I started to get note that I was down on fuel. So at that stage, it started to get quite messy. I'm clearly not very good at saving fuel, and that's when I started making mistakes. And then Craig was kind of all over me, and lucky I managed to save enough that a little bit of dirty defending at the end there to kind of hold the position. But it was all good in the end. You got to do what you got to do to win, and it's really difficult to pass around Montreal. So as long as you're putting the car in the apexes and hitting your brake marks, it's really difficult to overtake, particularly when you're both in the same car.
Definitely, you certainly showed that today. I mean, round 11 of the championship hasn't been a perfect season. I think you're something like 19th in the championship, which is still a pretty good result for you. I mean, how would you assess your season so far, and what are you hoping for at Belle Isle as well next week?
From our side, it's been a terrible season. I've missed a whole bunch of races, and I could probably think of 2 or 3 races offhand where I've really thrown away good results by, kind of stupid spins in the first couple laps of the race and just unnecessary contact. So from my side, it's been a really, really poor season, kind of 1 out of 10 stuff. But yeah, Montreal's a good track to kind of run into the end of the season, and I really, really enjoy Belle Isle as well. So I don't think I've done many laps in the Ferrari around there, but I'm looking really forward to it. It's a great circuit to end the season off, and it's been a great season. From a broadcast perspective, it's a great bunch of guys that run the series, that are involved in the series. So whilst my season's been pretty shocking, I think it's been a good season for AMF.
Definitely. And thanks for having a chat with us, Dan. Really been fantastic to talk to. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just a quick one to you guys again for a great broadcast. Ryan for putting a great series together. I know he's been under pressure this season, but I think it's been a great season. And then just to the DPR Racing guys, my teammate, it's always great fun to be able to get on and have a bit of banter. So just to our sponsors, Southwell Lifts and Hoists, BenMax Mechanical, and BetSmart Racing Service. Thanks again, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Darren, and yeah, see you next week.
Cheers.
So next up, we have got Craig Edwards, and I believe Daniel is standing by with him.
Yeah, Craig, congratulations, mate. Second tonight was a fantastic run for yourself there. You looked like you threw everything you had at the back of Darren Lobb there to try and get one through. But from your point of view, how'd you find it out there?
For starters, yeah, that was a lot of fun. But it shows this track is incredibly difficult to get past on. I'm not sure if it was clear on the broadcast, but Darren hit the wall with a couple to go, and even that wasn't enough to slow him down sufficiently to get me a run. So yeah, I spent a lot of time looking at the back of that DPR car. Interesting going in the early stages as well. Got passed quite aggressively by a car, and I think that's how Darren got past me. I was trying to get past this guy again, but he's nearly having an accident every time I got close, so kept having to pull out. But second place, I'll take it.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, and you've also got the championship to consider. Sam and I were having a bit of a talk mid-race, wondering whether you're going to look to send the car up the inside. Obviously, we're second to last race going into the championship, currently 4th on adjusted points. And considering where everyone else, as far as the main contenders, finished throughout the course of the race, this is definitely going to vault you up. Was your intent, once you sort of got clear and you could see where the other guys were in the relatives, to try and hold position, or were you definitely looking to get that move done towards the back end?
I always was trying to get a move constructed, but I always try and do one where there's just no doubt that I'm going to go by. Don't try and do anything half-half. So yeah, that never quite eventuated. There was a couple, I think 2 chances maybe on the last lap to really have a go, but neither of them came off. So second.
And then next week we're off for the final event, Belle Isle. Haven't been there for quite a few years, or a few seasons, sorry, with AMF, but to see all the GT cars back on circuit again would be quite the spectacle. What are your thoughts on this track, and how do you think the Ferrari is potentially going to go around there?
Oh, I don't know how the Ferrari will go, but Belle Isle is a fantastic circuit to be driving on. Depending on the crowd you get racing, it can be good, but I think we had a slightly average one last time AMF went here, so I think we can only go better than that. It should be a good show though. If we get some green flag running, it'll be quite a spectacle.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Well, again, look, congratulations, second tonight. We know you gave it your all, just not quite able to get it done that very last moments there. But before we let you go, was there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
Yep, no problem. Cheers to Darren Lobb for a good fight there at the end. Congrats on the win. And yeah, to my team Fusion Sim Racing, thanks to all of those guys and our sponsors, Dripping Paint Graphics, Eclipse Signage, and Decarter Plastering.
Fantastic, mate. Well, again, congratulations tonight, and look forward to hopefully catching up with you at Belle Isle next week.
No worries. I'll see you if I make it to the podium.
So that was Craig Edwards there in second position. And finally, we're going to have a interview with a third place finisher. It's Julian Clean Boosink. Julian, first up, I've always wanted to ask you this question. What's with your profile picture?
Hey guys, thanks for having me here. Yeah, my profile picture is the laser kiwi. So I'm actually Dutch and I decided to move to New Zealand a couple of years ago. And I think we had a flag referendum and this was one of the designs. And I think it's just a great picture, you know. New Zealand should actually use this as a flag, but, you know.
That is terrific. Yeah, I fully agree. That would definitely be the best flag in the world. Anyway, to motorsport, really good result for you. Take us through what happened on the first lap, because I think you were starting just a little bit behind where it all kicked off, but you managed to kind of slalom your way through it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. It was really messy. I think I actually got damaged from that incident, but by the time I passed the incident, I was up to 5th or something, and I just took my early pit stop because of the safety car, and all was good from there.
I think you had to overtake one driver towards the end of the race, but I mean, apart from that, it seemed quite almost seemed comfortable for you. I mean, did you enjoy driving around Montreal today? Is it a circuit that you enjoy just making laps around?
Yeah, I was fighting with Kane and Warren. Was struggling a bit early race with the pace, but once I settled in, it was good. And yeah, I really enjoy driving here. It's a really good track. It's a bit hard to overtake, but yeah, I always enjoy coming back to Montreal. It's a good place to race.
And going into this round of the championship, you were in 5th place, about 400 points off the lead of the championship. But of course, you've massively cut that down with Nathan and Timothy's issues today. Going into Belle Isle, how do you rate your chances for winning the for winning the championship, or at least getting in the top 3 in the championship?
Yeah, I've actually never driven there, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, look forward to the next race. I'm just gonna do my best and hope for a good result. You never know what's gonna happen. So yeah, look forward to it.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for that, Julien. Is there anyone you'd like to thank before you say goodbye?
Yes, thanks to my teammates at Fusion Sim Racing, sponsors Dripping Paint Graphics, Eclipse Signage, Daryl Carter Plastering, and also thanks to Ryan and his team for putting the league together. It's really awesome work. And also thanks to you guys for hosting us every week. It's been a great pleasure to race in this series. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Julian, and we'll see you next week.
Catch you guys. Thanks.
So that was Julian Clean Boosink finishing in 3rd position today for Fusion Sim Racing. So Daniel, it's been an awesome season. Particularly you've covered or pretty much every race of it, and it's going to round off at Belle Isle. What a way to finish off the season! So yeah, I say it over and over again, but so much could go wrong, and we have literally got 5 drivers who could still win this overall championship. Not to mention, of course, the amateur championship and the rookie championship as well, which are up for grabs. It's a spectacular way to finish the season.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, with the exception of the one race I did miss, and apologies for that. But the whole championship has been absolutely fantastic through the course of this event. So, we've seen some fantastic racing up and down the field. Everyone has laid it on the line to try and get those wins and put on the top finishing. And we're seeing here week in, week out, different drivers getting towards the front, getting opportunities at wins, which is great to see. Next week, obviously, we go to Belle Isle, the conclusion of season 11. I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing how the racing goes here at Belle Isle. It's a tough circuit to get around. We saw it a few weeks ago when another championship day OSC V8 supercars were out there, and the guys struggled a bit in those cars to get them through at certain points on the circuit. And I think we're going to be in for a similar sort of thing next week with the GT cars. That being said, they've got a lot of downforce they can utilize. the bumps are going to be the big tricky thing, and I have absolutely no doubt the guys are going to be putting in a huge amount of effort over the course of the week leading up to this one, not only from our top 5, but everyone else throughout the course of the field as well. So really looking forward to see how that all unfolds. The racing, as we say, will be absolutely spectacular, and I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic round of the championship, even if it was in the mid-season. But the fact that it's the final round as well, absolutely awesome. Hopefully you'll join us back for that as well. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, if you haven't already, please do leave a like on this video. We super appreciate it. And do subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, because there's loads of other action coming up, particularly in GTs. There's loads of stuff in GTs. But also supercars, dirt racing, oval racing, single seaters, everything that you could name. Everything is on iRacing, especially with the upcoming build as well. Some really exciting updates as well. So certainly do subscribe to the Esports Network for more iRacing coverage. And if you wouldn't mind, please do check out Apex Racing TV as well, which is our own channel. We're broadcasting 20 plus broadcasts a week. It's absolutely mega, and I'm sure there's going to be something for you to enjoy in that as well, whether you're from Australia, Europe, or America. So certainly please do check out Apex Racing TV, and also check out our social media as well on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But for now, from me, from Daniel, and from Scott, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you for the season finale of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship Season 11, and that'll be at Belle Isle same time next week. See you then.